I was in Santa Barbara recently, and right outside of the main street are 3 blocks of parks. Now, one of the parks I didn't even enter. The other park I spent about 2 minutes in, just walking from one corner to the other. And the third park I spent a good 20 minutes wandering around. So of course it prompted me to make this video on what makes a good city park. Benches, walking paths, fountains, iconic lizards casually strolling the park? Kidding. But the thing is, you can have all of those and still end up with a dead, unsafe park. The key to great parks is actually the same as what makes great streets, and that is the ability of the park to attract visitors at all hours of the day. And so now we get into how that's done. Much like retail establishments, parks also cater to specific target personas: early birds, midday visitors, afternoon strollers, and night owls. And the location of a park is key in engaging these diverse groups. Proximity to residential areas attracts morning runners or evening dog walkers, while locations near business districts appeal to the lunchtime crowd, and accessibility from transit hubs serves tourists and those without cars. The very best parks I've been to are also more than just open space. They contain various attractions that pull in people who might not have otherwise come to the park. For example, museums attract both residents, school groups, and tourists during the day. Balboa Park in San Diego is a really good example of this. Or the attraction could be landscape features like a nice lake, a rose garden, a beautiful fountain, or a scenic walk. If the park has a lake, it presents a good opportunity to add activities. I've been rowing in El Retiro as a tourist, and I've been paddleboarding in Denver's City Park as a weekend activity. Other recreation facilities like fields, courts, playgrounds, dog parks, or skate parks draw people into the park and keep them there for a good while. Park programming can help to increase the diversity of users. Events like movie nights in the park or holiday events draw in families and couples. Classes facilitate engagement with the community and are good ways for people to make friends and stay busy. I've seen dance classes, yoga classes, tai chi classes, you name it. Also, things like craft fairs or farmers markets are good tourist attractions. And food is not something to sleep on. Food is a great attractor because everyone has to eat. Lumpini Park has a morning food market. Other parks have little cafes. Some even have fancy restaurants. The top-tier parks tend to have it all, but even one food truck can make a difference. By simply attracting more park users, the park becomes a safer place. So let's hone in on safety. Safety considerations are paramount, as highlighted by studies showing a decline in park usage following nearby incidents. A well-designed layout fosters a sense of security, while a poorly planned one may discourage potential visitors. And the layout of the park matters too. If the perimeter of a park is inviting, people are more inclined to enter, right? Whereas a park like this is clearly repelling, because you don't know what awaits you. Safe parks have clear sightlines along pedestrian routes, clear entrances and exits, proper lighting. And it also means that facilities are safe too. Are toilets highly visible? Or do they invite unsavory characters and shady activity? Walking paths should be flexible and connect to street corners. People will naturally approach the block from one of the 4 corners, but this orthogonal layout forces them to enter and exit in the middle. A diagonal layout is much more natural and follows the general patterns of movement. Then, adding curved paths can add interest to the layout without impacting the efficiency. More path variety is a good thing too, because the ability to choose your path and the people you pass provides a sense of safety. Parks should be inviting to those who have intentionally come to the park, as well as those who just wish to pass through on their way to somewhere else. Finally, a good park will require maintenance. Rundown parks discourage use. They signal that no one is in charge and attract mischief or other questionable activity. Maintenance ensures parks have clean facilities, landscaping, no vandalism, tables and chairs that are usable, water that's clean, and people that are safe. I've noticed that a lot of American parks are wide open, which helps with accessibility, but it also means that anyone can access it late at night, which makes it harder to keep campers or troublemakers out. On the other hand, a lot of the parks in Europe have a surrounding gate and a clear closing time. Which do you think is better? So let's go back to these 3 parks. They were, in fact, situated in a pretty good part of town near mixed uses, so in this case, the location wasn't really the problem. But park number 1 didn't have any attractions. The gazebo in the center was blocked off, and the pathways are laid out such that it forces pedestrians through the center, which was dark and hard to discern. I noticed a fair amount of homeless, and though Google reviews would later tell me that they're generally harmless, as a petite female wandering solo, I decided not to chance it. On the other hand, Park 2 has a nearly identical layout to Park 1, with the exception of a playground. As such, there were parents and kids around, and I felt safe enough to cross through. But as there was nothing of interest to me, crossing through is really all I did. Park 3 was the same size as the other two parks, but there was thought put into the landscape. There was a large grassy area in front of the pond. People were watching the ducks and turtles, and parents and children were hanging out on the bridge. There were a variety of paths that could be taken, and you were never forced to walk past someone. Park 3 was well situated and had a good layout with path variety that was good for a stroll or a run. It had just enough attractions to pull people in, and I think that's what set it apart from the other two. This was just a small neighborhood park, but when we apply these concepts to larger city parks, a park can really transform into a central city attraction. Ultimately, a successful park serves as a welcoming community space that supports physical activity, social connections, and inclusive access for all. The amalgamation of thoughtful design, diverse amenities, engaging programming, safety measures, and contextual considerations collectively contribute to a vibrant park experience, ensuring it remains lively from sunrise to sunset. What else do you think determines the success of parks? And drop your favorite city park in the comments below.